Welcome to the third episode of the Igbo Kwenu podcast. Listen, I want to thank each and every single one of you for actually watching the first two episodes because the numbers are rising. Like, I'm so
Nice.
grateful. I'm very appreciative. But I will also be more appreciative as well if you make sure you become a member of ICSN, especially if you are able and you're living in London and you're living in Manchester. So the link to that's going to be in the description box. But also don't forget to in the comment section below and make sure you like the videos as well and share it with everyone as well. Now, also as well, I'm going to mention as well, we have another guest. And what I want to say about this guest, I'm going to call him Mr. VP, Vice President of ICSN, and also I would like to call him the Mr. Numbers Man because yes, he is the numbers man, and like it's an honor to have him on this podcast because he's also a fellow. Should I say this? A fellow Chelsea fan. So
Yeah.
I like when yeah. And then speaking of that, his name is James, but we're gonna go by Igbo names. So obviously, my name is Ifechu Kadere. I know I'm butchering it. I'm not a butcher, but I know I'm butchering it. I was born in London, raised in London, so it's what it is. So can you say your name in Igbo and then also mention the meaning as well?
Yes, Ugochukwu. So grace from God. And thank you
Perfect,
for having
perfect,
me.
perfect. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So firstly, we're gonna
Mhm.
get into the coconut game. So it's just a
Okay.
fire round question game. This one, because you're a Chelsea fan, I know you will like this one. All right. So we got Tony Madueke or Kani Chukwemeka.
Kwame Chukwuemeka.
Interesting. Even though the stats are better for Madueke,
Yeah, you know what? The
considering
stats are. Yeah, the stats are saying one thing, but sometimes it's also about. I look at the determination when you're playing, right? Like the sometimes it's good to look at the stats and it's good to look at performance, but sometimes you kind of look into the player as well and sort of look at Sancho, for example. I mean, I'm deviating a little bit, but you the stats were against him in Manchester United, but I felt like the skill set and the ability was there, and he just needed the right environment, the right coach to sort of bring that to life. So I still got my faith in
very
Konchuk,
true,
yeah. Mm,
very true, very true. All right. So John Obi Mikel or Kanu?
Kanu.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kanu,
Very interesting.
Kanu, because I mean, Mikel was really good back in it. He was a strong in that midfield. He was holding it down, but Kanu is just he was bringing a different flavor to the game, and
Yeah,
so I just love the style. I love the personality. So I'm gonna go with Kanu. Yeah.
fair enough. Like
Mm,
I'm on for biased reasons, I'm gonna go with John Obi Mikel because I remember like I went to Jamaica with my foster mom, and I remember we went to see Jamaica versus Nigeria, and I remember we went
hmm
into the dressing room, and I asked Kanu to come to Chelsea, and he laughed at me. He laughed. So, but
That's
now
it,
it's
man.
bittersweet.
Okay.
It's bittersweet, yeah, because this is the time we play for Arsenal, and so now it's bittersweet because now he's the chairman of Inyimba FC, and that's the Nigerian team I actually support. So it's a
Okay.
bittersweet. But all right, so Celestine Babayaro or Stephen Keshi?
I'll go for Keshi. I think his touch was something else. I think he had a really good touch, and yeah, I think Keshi would
Yeah.
be my favorite in that one. Yeah,
All right, so JJ Kocha or Emmanuel Emenike?
Okocha, no doubt. Okocha.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
he's the Zinedine of Nigeria, based or Africa, man. He's the Zinedine Zidane, man. The
fact,
touch, the
fact.
dribbles, Okocha, 100%. And look at what he's
All
doing
right,
now for the
so
community. He's still heavily involved. So it's just the character, just shows the character He wasn't faking it. He wasn't just trying to put up a fake actor. Look, even now to this day, he's got nothing to do with football. He's got nothing to do. He doesn't have to step out and get involved. But look how he gets stuck in with the culture and promotes our culture. So amazing person in and out of the pitch.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Mm.
All right, so that's part one of the Colonel game. So you already mentioned the meaning of your name. So who would
Yes.
you say, like in regards to your name, who actually named you? Was it your mom, your dad, your grandma? Like who named you? Because that's a
Yeah,
great name.
I believe there's an agreement between my two parents. To be fair, it's a very good question. I didn't ask specific, but I know obviously both of my parents. It didn't come from my grandparents or anybody else in the family that was called Ugochukwu, and they wanted to sort of imitate that name. No, it was an agreement between my parents.
Perfect, perfect. So speaking of your parents, where
Yes,
where in Igbo land are you from? Which state?
yes. So I'm from Enugu, Esiago, and more specifically, Owemezi. That's the actual village name. So
Perfect,
beautiful, beautiful state, amazing, amazing people.
perfect, perfect. So speaking of that, so where like in terms of your growing up, like did you grow up in the UK or back home, or was it a mix of both? Or
No, so actually, I was actually born and raised in Italy. So, but I lived there till like my teenage, sort of mid teenage years, and I moved here.
yeah,
Um, I've been to Nigeria and so on, but predominantly I spent most of my life in Europe, and um, so yeah. Now moved to the UK when I was a teenager, and just gone through the educational system and so on.
so how was that like trying living in the living in Italy till your
Mm,
mid-teen and then
yeah,
coming to the UK was that because obviously well it's not obvious, but in some cases there's like in fact I remember in the Euros the previous Euros that was it
yeah.
4 years ago. So yeah, like I remember when it was England versus Italy. I remember on
Oh
Twitter
yes.
someone put it's racism versus racismo. So it's like, was there? Did you experience any sort of like racism and anything like that? And did it affect you in a negative way growing up or in a positive way growing up?
Yeah, I think there's still an issue in either countries with maybe systemic racism still lingering around. But I guess with Italy, it's more pronounced. It's just more to your face rather than it being a systematic. Is that the right word? Systematic kind of issue. And
Yeah,
so, yes, I have, but it wasn't. I didn't recall having like traumatic experience, like strong trauma. I mean, racism is still bad either way, but it wasn't like I was being chased around or
yeah,
anything like that. To be honest, it was just more like the silly comments from the elder generation, which unfortunately they didn't know any better. So it's just more out of ignorance, because ultimately Italy hasn't been. They haven't had a strong colonization, a strong history with colonization, and they didn't have that many
yeah,
countries, coming in. And it's only like towards the late '80s where they had a lot of more immigrants, not a lot, and more immigrants coming over requesting for a visa. So, no, it wasn't as I didn't have any traumatic experience, even though I did have some experience here and there. I think because I was fortunate, I mean, relatively fortunate enough to being born there. I spoke the language. I guess if I stayed there a lot longer, then it would have been a different story, right? But
yeah,
I think up until you're a teenage, you don't really experience that much harsh. The whole, what the people say, the real Italian scene with racism. So no. And finally, I think things are getting better in Italy because obviously, my generation that is born there and is trying to integrate. But it's still, I think Italy compared to England is like 40 years behind in terms of integration and multiculturalism. So yeah.
In terms of like your in fact, before we're talking about education, like
Mm,
in fact, well, this is sort of an education question in a way, but so with being able, like,
hmm
um, um, raised partly in Italy, like,
hmm
at what age would you say that your parents introduced the Igbo culture to you?
From birth, straight away from birth. I think what actually happened when you're actually a minority of a minority in a country like Italy, for example, where you don't have that many people that look like you don't have people that speak the same language as
Yeah,
you. What you tend to do, you tend to actually form a stronger community with people that are alike. And so, I was going to school, being taught the language, being taught the culture, and assimilating with the Italians. But home, home was Nigeria. Home was Enugu. And so
yeah,
from day one, I was taught about my history, my family history, about the culture. And then, on the weekend, my mom used to have an African shop. So on the weekend, I used to go and help her out. And we'll still have an inflow of Igbo people because there was a strong community there. It was, let me help
yeah.
you so you can help me. Let's help each other. Let's get, we're struggling, but let's help each other. So it was from day one.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Because I do generally believe when it comes to teaching of the culture, it really should be from a very, very early age. Because it's like
Yes.
for me, for example, it's like even though I was raised in foster care, I feel like my birth mother, like she did teach me some things from early. So even just knowing my name, it's like she taught me that, and I was proud of that. And then obviously it's weird up until I hit secondary school. I don't know, I kind of rebelled, um but yeah, speaking of continuation of education, did your parents, push you into, becoming, wanted you to become an accountant, an accountant, was it engineer, doctor, lawyer? Did they,
Mm.
or was it just anything?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, absolutely. I think for especially for my dad, education was very important. Education was the key for him, was the key to success, key to freedom, whether it be financial freedom or just just and I mean at the time he wanted me to push all the way to PhD. Like he was keen. Like he was just
Yeah,
he wanted me at the beginning. He wanted me to become a doctor, and but it's funny because growing up, my parents, they never listed accountancy as one of the more successful jobs. They always spoke about either doctor, lawyer, or engineer. There was never accountants. And then talking to some of
yeah,
my fellow Igbo friends, they kind of experienced the same thing. I've got two from friends that are Igbo and are accountants, and they're like, growing up, there was never one of the core objectives, right? It was like either lawyer, doctor, or engineer. And but then I wasn't good at biology. I was at the time I just me and biology weren't getting along. So I was more good at maths, chemistry, and so I
yeah,
ultimately studied maths at university. Even though at the beginning my dad wasn't too happy about it because he was like, at the time he's just because he never understood, he never considered finance or accountancy. He wasn't too happy at the beginning, but then 2 weeks of conversating with his fellow friends, he was like, "Oh, you know what, son? That's a very good choice. I think you'll be all right." So yeah.
perfect, perfect.
Mhm.
So would you say in terms of your career path, like has that has the way, in fact, what's the best question? The way I want to word this question is because you know what it is when it comes to choosing your career. It's like, for example, with
Yeah.
me, I don't want to say I regret it because everything happens for a reason, but it's like
Yeah.
I chose at the path for trying to be a music artist, and I was so stubborn that I thought,
Mhm.
nah, I'm gonna be a music artist. I'm gonna be big. I'm gonna like I don't know why I was so stubborn. And it's
Mm.
like, do you think like it pays to actually listen to your parents? Because obviously, when you get to a certain age, obviously, when in fact, no, I don't. Maybe I could be wrong in this, but you know, when you're from the beginning stages up until you reach like teenhood, it's like you want to please your parents, you want to make sure you're pleasing them, and then you get to a teenhood, and it's like you kind of rebel against them, but it's like obviously you want to still make them proud, but it's like you still want to try and find your way. So, would you say that's a similar case to you, and do you think that if there's any advice you can give to any younger generation, what advice would you give to them?
Advice say would be first and foremost, I understand that maybe you know, African parents, Igbo parents can be very quite demanding, and sometimes we may they may not provide um they might not give you the right advice in order to get to what they are expecting it to be, because it's not really their fault, because obviously if they did, they've given it to you, right? But because they haven't gone through that journey, they're just hoping for, expecting the final the result, but the process is quite, you actually need some help. So my advice would be, yes, do listen to your parents, but um take them through the journey. And what I mean by
Yeah,
that is just don't just listen to your parents and then crack on with it without getting involved within the journey. So because by doing that, by actually bringing them in and showing them a journey, you're actually going to show them the the trials and tribulations that you have to go through, and also they can also understand where where they actually come in and help. And what I mean by help is not really giving you the answers or explaining the complex formulas that we're learning in school, but more
yeah,
like, by simple things like providing a tutor, for example, where if you know
yeah,
you're struggling in maths, where you're trying hard, but you actually need some extra support, you can actually go to your dad. And because sometimes you end up with asking for a tutor to your dad, and your dad is like, well, what do you mean? You have a head, you have a working brain, why can't you do it yourself? No, dad, I may need some help. Let's sort out a tutor. So yes,
yeah,
do listen to your parents, but try to have try to have a conversation, engage a conversation where you're actually updating them on the journey. And that's what I've applied with my mom, especially my mom, when even in my career, anytime at the beginning of my career I was changing jobs or I was getting promoted, I was always like, going to my mom, or I was struggling with I had problems with a co-worker, I was misunderstanding. I was in conversation with my mom. So my mom appreciates, and you know, at least she knows that I've tried my hardest. So yeah.
perfect, perfect. And what does it mean to you to be able in today's society, especially with nowadays we've got so many ways to connect.
Yes. So to be Igbo in today's society, um, I mean, I can only speak for myself because I don't think I've got, yeah, from my understanding, because I haven't got the right definition, and but yeah, from my understanding, is to be proud of your history, is to understand, um, just have an overview of the culture. You don't have to understand the whole detail of it, because some things can be quite challenging to comprehend, especially for people that are born abroad and born and raised abroad. But try to have an overview of the culture, of the key elements of the culture, i.e., Ibanku, the traditional wedding, um, uh, the understanding of things, even things like the mentorship program that is embedded in our Igbo culture. You know, um, and what I mean by that is just, for example, what used to happen in the village, if you had a quite successful uncle, or an uncle who was an entrepreneur and had a business, what they used to do, the family used to send their child to the uncle and go through that apprenticeship process. And
Yeah,
so yeah, things like that. So understand your culture, be proud of your culture, um, and do some research on what it means to be Igbo. So someone who's always keen on knowing about their family and also their extended family and understand their history. And I think to be Igbo is to be clever, not necessarily book smart, but to be clever in the way of how you do things. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. So
Yeah,
being clever, yes.
perfect, perfect. So speaking of that, like, how do you balance preserving Igbo culture and traditions while adapting to new environments?
Yes, very good question. I think the key thing, and something I mentioned just now, just being keen to learn about my family history, learn about the culture, and so by doing so, you would enrich yourself, and those things that you're learning, you then translate in your day to day. A good example was, I mean, I've all understood the language, but I found it very difficult to speak it because um, I just basically didn't get the chance to sort of speak it at home, and come moving over into this country, I had to focus on learning language, English first. But by joining ICSN, I was able to interact with fellow Igbos who were way more better speaker than myself, and so I was able to improve my Igbo. And by learning about my culture, by learning about my history, there was a sense of pride. Now if I wear Isiago,
Yeah,
Isiago for me is more valuable than a Gucci than a Gucci shirt or a Gucci
yeah,
trousers, because it's that element of pride. I think it's not really the fabric, because the fabric,
yeah,
you can buy a Isiago for maybe what fifth of the price of a Gucci shirt, but it's just the value that I attribute to the item, because there's a history, and because of the history behind the item, I'm applying the values in the item is increasing the value to me in my eyes. And so yeah, so by learning more about my culture, always being inquisitive, by interacting with the elders in my family. So I have few uncles that I go to, that even though they live abroad, so some of them live in Italy and so on, I still have an interaction with them. I still have talked to them, and so we build that sense
yeah,
of they build that we build that sense of inclusion, where they know that I'm not really great speakers, but because they can see that willingness for me to learn about my culture, and therefore they include me into their family meetings and include me into things that I should get involved, even though I don't speak the language. So yeah.
yeah. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so we're gonna go into the another part of the Colin game, but before we do that, I want to ask you this this question first. Overall, in terms of your career, your life, so far, what has been your most proudest moment of being an Igbo?
My proudest moment, I think, was last year at Iriji. Um, for those who don't know, Iriji is our big sort of festival. We got a Yam festival that we host throughout the year. It's the biggest event of the year, actually. And so last year we had a record of 700 guests. We had performance, we had masquerades, we had music, we had food, we had all sorts. We had sponsorships, we had businesses coming to sponsor, understanding what we bring to the table and our footprint within the Igbo culture, and so on. So they came and decided to sponsor us. So I think my proudest moment was having my family and my uncles and aunties to come down and witness what myself and the fellow executive, the MM subcommittee as well, has managed to deliver for our people. I think that's been my proudest moment to date. It's not really,
Right.
it wasn't really a chance for me to really show off and be like, oh, look how great I am, but it's just to actually make a point that even though I'm born abroad, I'm still much part of the community. I'm still involved in the community, and so yeah, that was my proudest moment.
Perfect, perfect. I like that. All right, so
Mm.
we're gonna go into the second part of the Colin game. So forgive me if I'm mispronouncing these names and these
No,
words.
it's fine. As long as you're trying, you're
All
good.
All right, so Ofe Egusi or Ofe Owori? I said that
Egusi.
right?
Yeah, offer Egusi. You said that right. Yeah, offer
Perfect,
Egusi. Yeah, always Egusi. Oh, Egusi is my favorite
perfect,
soup. Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
perfect.
How about you?
I would say
But
Egusi because every time that one of my sisters make it, it's like I just feel so satisfied. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel so satisfied. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, it just tastes. It just, yeah. I would pick that. All right, so all right. So I don't want to again. I don't want to butcher these names. So Ojoku or Ezekwe. Don't I pronounce those names correctly?
I
Like
think
which history?
Ojoku.
Yeah.
I think Ojoku. I just yeah, it's more. It's my favorite. I think I've got. I rather that's more favorite. Yes, Ojoku. Yes.
All right. So let's hope I pronounce this right. Oppo or G?
I think G.
So which?
Did you say Oppa or
Yeah.
Oppo? Is it? Is it
I
Oppa?
don't know if I'm
OKPA.
pronouncing it right. So, oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh no, I'll go for Oppa. Oppa is
Wait,
the Oppa. Is it
yeah.
OKPA?
No. Oh, so UKPO.
Oh, UKPO. Okay. No, I'm going for G then. G. I prefer G. G is the. I've been to a few town meetings, and G has never let me down. So I think G is the one for me. Yeah.
All right. So, this one to do with music now. So the traditional Igbo
Mm.
music or the modern Igbo music, which the style do you
Ooh.
prefer more?
Ooh. Ooh. I I think there's a time for either. So if I'm in a car and I'm driving and I want to listen to music, I'd rather listen to the modern ones. But if I'm with my family or my uncles and stuff, then we're gonna play traditional because they don't really. Yeah, so I'll go for both, but either one has got a timing and a place to be played in. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. So, um, this is another dish. Again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to mispronounce these, but Isi Iwo or and Nkwobi.
Unkwabi, Unkwabi. Oof, the way they presented the presentation as well. They usually use that within cup. So yeah, and it's got a lot of meat in there. I like the meat. I like beef and my soup and stuff. So I'm Kobe. Yes.
This one, I know you're going to be biased. So,
Okay.
Oweri or Enugu?
Enugu man, straight.
Yes.
Enugu to the world, man. Enugu to the world, man. Yeah.
I hear that. All right. So, um, this one is to do with our cultural festivals. Which one do you prefer participating in? Iba, Nekwo, or Iriji?
Mm-hmm. Iriji, absolutely. Iriji Scott is packed with culture, but it's also packed with vibes. You cut the yam, you got the speaker, you got the prayer, you got the Igwe coming in and blessing all the Eze also coming in and blessing the yam. But then afterwards, there's always an element of dancing. There's always an element of enjoyment. So it's a good fusion of both your historical side and also entertainment part. Yeah.
Perfect. This is the bonus ones. All right. So
Right.
I have a feeling which one they're gonna pick,
Mm,
but
okay.
Enugu Rangers or Enyimba FC.
Enugu Rangers.
See, I knew it.
Enugu
I knew
Rangers.
it.
I need to go and see them. I've seen a few clips of them. I need to go and see them. Next time I'm in
Yeah,
Nigeria, I'm gonna go and see them, man, for sure. Yes, I'm gonna try to see
yeah.
them.
See, like there was recently. When was it? Was it? I can't remember what day it was, but it was Enugu Rangers versus Enyimba FC, and they're both fighting for the title. and it's like the game got cancelled.
Oh, gosh.
Like they were, I think it was the last 10 minutes of the game, and there was like a penalty decision that wasn't made, and so there was like a big fracas going on, and then it's like the game got cancelled, and then Inyembe FC got fined, and Enugu Rangers, I believe they also got fined, but Inyembe FC they I think they took away 3 points. Football,
Oh wow.
football. But yeah,
What can you do? It's
but
scary.
it's so interesting. I feel like I don't want to say it, but I feel like the way the league is going with the few games left is Enugu Rangers league to lose. So they have every chance to win in the next few games. Every chance. All right, so continue on with football. I'll be your Warriors or Nyimba FC.
I'll be aware because I've got a few emo friends, emo states. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, so now that's out of the way. All right, so now we're gonna get into your role as the vice president. So
Yes.
can you start by telling us a bit about your role as the VP at ICSN?
Sure. No, being a VP is a fundamental role. I mean, all exec roles are key for the success of the organization. However, when it comes to the actual operational side of things, vice president takes a bit more of a bigger responsibility, and the vice president is more of acts as more of a support to each of departments within the exec teams. And when it comes to culture, when it comes to things like Quenu, when it comes to social finance and so on, and also acts as a support to the actual president. So the role of vice president is to advise the president and also support the president, ensuring that the vision that the president stated at the beginning of the year, that we all agreed on, all the execs as well agreed on, is actually fulfilled. So it definitely, vice president acts as a catalyst into the fruition of the actual objectives of the team. Um, and so it's quite a broad role. You're kind of you're a jack of all trades. You kind of have to get your hands stuck into different pots, and it's not really for the vice president to take over roles or to try and step on anyone's foot, but just where needed or where required, comes acts as a support. One thing I'm doing as well this year, a bit more than supporting, because we don't have a finance exec. I'm also supporting and sort of managing the financial aspect this year. We've successfully managed last year's, and it was quite profitable. It was quite profitable last year, and obviously that success has also helped out this year where we had some few challenges. And so it just and I think finance is one of the key things, and that needs to be looked at, just for not just for this year's success, but also into the future. And so, because at the end of the day, London is the sort of the starting point, the sort of the stepping stone for the whole of ICSN. So you kind of have to manage the finance as well. So yeah, it's quite of a broad role being a vice president. And I also attend meetings on behalf of the president, or where and so it's quite broad. Yeah.
Perfect. Like, so leading on from that, what impact has your role as a VP had on the community within ICSN?
I think obviously we have a great welfare exec, but I think also from a sort of well-being, from a more of community, promoting the community engagement, because I take some times where I take upon myself to sort of call the members, engage with them, listen to their feedback, listen to how their week is going, or how their job is going. If there's any way where so I can help, or ICSN can help, So from a that's like the welfare perspective, and also from ensuring that events are carried to the best of what we can actually produce, offer, ensuring that if there's any sort of equipment missing or if there's any sort of planning missing, then I step in and sort of make sure that a plan is devised for any of the major events. And so, from a planning point of view, from operational point of view, that's where I feel I've added a lot of value. And also from a financial perspective, which I've mentioned earlier, just ensuring that, suppliers and events managers, venue managers are paid on time, and revenue is collected on
Yeah.
time in a timely manner, and so on. So, yeah.
With that said, what have been some of the biggest challenges you have faced so far? And then how did you
So
overcome them?
far, I think, sure. Biggest challenges so far, I think, is at the beginning where we decided to support Ornese in during the memorial event that we recently had, and this is the first time where actually joined arms with another. No, it's done it previously, but in the last since I've joined, is the first time where I've seen ICSN join arms with another Igbo, a fellow Igbo sort of group. Obviously, Oanes plays a pivotal role in the Igbo community because he's our traditional ruler, and she's she holds the she her role. Her main objective is to promote the Igbo culture. I wouldn't say traditional ruler. She's more of our traditional. She represent all the Igbos in the UK, and so she plays a pivotal role in the promotion of the culture. And therefore, when I was asked to sort of to partner with them, I kind of had to figure
Yeah.
out the best way and the most effective and the most sustainable way where we could do that. Also, from most importantly, from a financial perspective. And so by
Yeah.
planning, going back to the basics, planning. It's all about planning. From That's what I've learned from being an exec. Because especially in finance, you end up sometimes if you don't have a plan, you end up running an event and you start overspending. But however, if you have a plan and you have an accountability, first of all, you create an account, you create part of accountability, a part where you know, okay, so this is the budget, this is what we should stick to. If they obviously you can run into exceptional costs, but predominantly you want to be accountable to those objectives, those targets, and so yeah, by creating a plan, I was able to devise a way for ICSN to support the event, and I think we successfully run one of the best events that I've seen so far to date.
Congrats. So next year I'm gonna ask in terms of the calling up game,
Yes.
just to reflecting on that. I haven't just experienced it. How do you think games like this contribute to the direction of supporting our culture?
I think it's that it can humble you or it can challenge you. So humble you because if you don't know the answer to some of the names, when some people will say, yeah, I know the culture so well, and then if someone throws you a question where you're like, hold on, you should know what this means. And so it kind of prompts you to make more research, and there's always something to learn regardless of how well spoken you are within the Igbo language, or how well versed you are in understanding the Igbo culture. And so it humbles you, but also challenges you, because let's say you manage to answer all the questions, then you're kind of be you're gonna be you're gonna challenge a person asking the question to ask you a bit more, more trickier question. And so it's a good way to sort of gain knowledge. Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Well, yeah, because it's interesting when I like with some of the questions I was thinking, like, like in general, like it's one
Mm,
thing trying to learn the culture, but I feel like sometimes what I've usually struggled with is
mhm.
finding something. As much as I love our culture, it's like I wanted to find something that I'm passionate about overall. So for me, it's sports and music. So knowing that I can combine the two and knowing, okay, well, I can ask these questions, I can find out more about this team, and knowing what I now know of the Nigerian Premier League as well. It's like, okay, now I know there's this list of Igbo teams as well, and it's just trying to understand certain things. I even found out even recently as well, when trying to create a list, I actually found out that when it comes to the national side for Nigeria, the
Yeah,
majority of the players are often Igbo.
right.
So that is a very interesting thing. Speaking of that, what what do you think the um I don't want to say it's a phenom, but what do you think that is? Like, why do you think we're basically successful in whatever we do and we literally dominate?
Yes, I think it's a mentality thing, right? I mean, you watch the Champions League, right? Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid and so on. And why does Real keep winning? I mean not every year, but they've got really good track record. And sometimes, I think you have really good teams in Europe, but just that mentality. You kind of have to have that mentality, you have to have that winning mentality, right? So doesn't matter where
Yeah,
it comes from, doesn't matter from who it comes from. I'm gonna win. So when someone, you have Callum Ancelotti, you ask him, what was your plan? My plan was win to win. You know what I mean? So you just have to you have to have that mindset, and I think that's what applies to us Eagles. We have a sense of winning mentality. So no matter the situation, no matter the struggle, we're gonna make something ourselves. We're gonna make something of the situation that we get given with, regardless of the situation. And so I think it stems down to our mindset, our mentality.
perfect. And so speaking of that mentality and mindset, um,
Hmm.
is there any initiatives or any projects that you're excited about coming up within ICSN?
I think something that's already started, which was the mentorship program. So we asked within our sort of our network, was any professionals that were willing to mentor any students, university or professionals in the early stage of their career. And I think that's a beautiful way for us to sort of grow our talent with our talent. And and it's all fortify our network. And ICSN Igbo Cultural Support Network. And that's what at the end of the day, that's what we're all about, right? We're all about promoting the culture, but also about bringing Igbo professionals together and building that network and that sense of community. And
Yeah,
so I think that's one of the things, projects that I'm most excited about. And also long term, excited about ICSN opening new chapters. I believe Coventry is still under progress. There's possibly one in the Midlands that's going to be opening soon. And so, it's beautiful to see that, personally, I was able to play a part in making that happen because one, as you all know, one of the key things in to open a chapter is that they need is money, and therefore ensuring that London is also able to support within reason the different chapters, given that London is sort of the headquarters, right? And so that's where
yeah,
one of the things I'm most excited about opening new chapters, the mentorship program, and there's various initiatives that we have. We've opened ICSN singles chat. We have a group chat. We have over 100 participants in that chat. We are gonna have different events as well in terms of promoting Evo love. So definitely those are the one of the things
perfect.
that I'm most excited about.
Perfect, perfect. So speaking of that, is there any advice that you would give to like potential, members that want to join, and if they're, yeah, just if they want to join, like what would the advice would you give them?
Um, come with open mind, come with this true desire to learn about the culture. Obviously, we're known for successfully sort of matchmaking, so providing, fostering an environment where people can sort of meet their lifelong partner and so on. But it comes more than that, because the moment you step in, you'll see the sort of the energy, the sort of excitement that we bring, that these events that we plan, us execs, we plan for the year, where you don't just, it's not just about, also it's important finding your lifelong partner, but also, learning about the culture, being involved and engaged with like-minded individuals. And I think that's something key. And ultimately, if you feel like you want to add a contribution, don't hesitate to reach out to one of the execs, myself, president, or any other of the execs, and say, look, I
Yeah.
want to run for an exec. I myself, when I first joined, I wasn't planning to be an exec, let alone vice president. But I think because I felt like I had um, I had certain qualities, and I was most importantly willing to learn. I I thought, I worked within the finance industry for a number of years. Why not contribute to the community? And I think it paid off. It paid off. It does require some of your time, but not too much. It's not. It's a voluntary role at the end of the day. So people need to remember
Yeah.
that. You don't get paid, but I think the things that you gain by actually committing to this role is they are quite valuable. And yes, come with open minded, come excited, come with the mindset of I want to learn about the culture and get involved. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. And lastly, um,
Mm.
is there any thoughts or messages that you would like to share with our audience today?
Um. Yeah. I think that ICSN is. I think definitely. So you could go to Stanford Hill, for example. You'll see the Jewish community. You see them. Obviously they have some sort of they have a bit more strict rules, and they have their own traditions, and sometimes their traditions and the way they do things looks like as if like they're a bit too within themselves. Now I have one or two Jewish friends, but I, I don't know too much of their culture, so I'm still trying to learn. But just the, I'm just talking about the perception, right? I could be wrong, but just the perception. You kind of look at the Asian community, and a lot of the times, you see them sort of married within their own culture and so on, and how their culture is sort of structured and so on. They have got a really good sense of community. If a fellow Asian person opens a shop, a lot of the time you see Asians going to that shop rather than going to um, a Somalian shop or a Jamaican shop, because they have that understanding of community, right? They have that understanding where,
Yeah.
okay, I'm part of the community. Let me bring something into the group so everybody can actually benefit from that. But everybody plays a part and understands that part. And so what I'm trying to say is that rather than, and then a lot of the time when you have a conversation about Nigerians, you hear that Yorubas are sort of, that's what people say. It's not my, don't quote me, but that's what I heard. So you say Yoruba are sort of taking over London, and their kids speak the language, it's taught at home, they come together, you see the churches, you see the community. But then when it comes to Igbos, it was so scattered. Everybody's every man, everyone's for themselves. Every's like very scattered and so on. So I think ICSN is that sort of bridge, is that sort of environment where Igbos can come together, regardless of what state they come from or what their background or what they do, just come together as a community. And so I invite anybody to sort of look at ICSN as a place where you can be yourself, a place where
Yeah.
you will definitely find someone you can actually resonate with, and ultimately by actually joining, by becoming a member, by taking just attending the events, you feel fulfilled because you've actually contributed, whether with a big contribution or a small contribution to the actual to the so to the life of to the Igbo culture, and ultimately, you know, what you do today might actually benefit your brother, your sister, your cousin in the future. And
Very
so,
true.
and I speak for myself. I have my brothers just come to a UEG, so they've never attended the UEG, but by
Yeah,
actually inviting them over, they were able to see my cousins now when they're the right age, they're grown up because they're still young. I actually have a platform, an opportunity to give them to say, look, right, you've lived here all your life, you understand, you only know to speak English or whatever, or you feel like you want to learn a bit more about the Igbo culture, why don't you join ICSN and so on. So understand that your actions might not just be about you, but also might affect your extended family and your future generation. So yeah,
yeah, perfect. So that would be that for this episode. I mean, what can I say? It's interesting because it's like the first two episodes I just felt, I don't know. At the beginning I was nervous, but now that I'm
mhm,
doing more episodes, I feel more at ease and I feel at home. So it's like,
that's
yeah, so it's a great conversation we had today, and I appreciate you
amazing.
coming on,
Thank you
sharing your
for
experience. No way, that's fine.
thank you for
And yeah, for everyone watching, thank you. Make sure you actually continue to listen on Spotify as well. Um, Leave comments if possible, and also, you know, especially on if you're watching on YouTube, again, like like the video, share it as well, leave comments, but most importantly, yes, subscribe to the channel. But like I said at the beginning of this beginning, if you are living in London or living in Manchester and you're Igbo, make sure you become a member. It's key because at the end of the day, networking is very fundamental and learning more about the culture is extremely fundamental. And you will feel more proud of like where you're from, and it's so interesting. It's like knowing you can just connect with anyone. It's just a great feeling. But anyway, the link to that's going to be in the description box below. So make sure you click on that and become a member. And I've been If a Tricker there. I know I'm butchering my name. Like I said, I'm not a butcher, but I was born in London, raised in London, and I was raised by a Jamaican foster mom as well. So that's my excuse. But I still have found a way to try and, learn more about our culture and stuff like that. So still no excuses. I'm still gonna find a way to make sure I pronounce it correctly. But we start from where we are. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and thank you, James, for being coming through to support as well. Thank you.
my pleasure. Thank you.
No worries. All right, thanks.